be easy.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I'm currently single.
Currently single, okay.
And I can't really relate just because I don't think I've ever had a serious relationship before.
Okay.
Just a lot of talking stages and.
Oh, you said a lot of talking stages?
Yeah.
How many talking stages are we?
I mean, I also consider a talking stage just like maybe a week, but I also drop people very quickly.
You drop them quickly.
So, I don't know.
Well, what's the longest, maybe you haven't, like, would you say you've never had like a titled boyfriend?
Right.
Okay. What's the longest period of time you've dated a guy? 2 months, 3 months, anything like that?
Like 3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay, damn.
Too quickly.
All right. And you said you drop people too quickly.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I've been told that I let people go too easily just because they upset me and I just decide that they're not worth my time.
Do they give you the ick?
They do.
They give you the ick?
They do.
So they're not worth your time.
No.
So you've said you've had quite a few talking stages. So more often than not, are you the one who's kind of pumping the brakes, like saying?
Oh, 100%.
100%?
Yeah.
Okay. Has a guy ever done it, or it's mostly you?
I feel like sometimes it's mutual. I don't think I've been rejected yet.
Not yet. Okay, no rejections.
But
all right.
a lot of the times it is just mutual fizzling out.
Okay. And are you desirous, though, of a long-term relationship, or are you kind of okay with the...
I'm okay with both. I mean,
Okay.
I think having a boyfriend is great, but I also know that I'm a very picky person.
Very picky.
So it's...
What are some of the things that lead you to get you get the ick or make you want to pump the brakes? Is there a pattern of behavior that you're seeing among the men, or how do you pinpoint it?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of it sounds very vague, but a lot of times it's just a vibe of how good and genuine a person is. So if I see that they're even like slightly like, oh, they're either a little too aggressive or they're, I don't know, they can be weird or mean or I don't know. I'm very quick to just, I don't give people the benefit of the doubt, which I know is not the best option, but.
How do you typically meet the guys that you've been in a talking stage with? Dating apps, in person?
No, not dating apps.
Never been on a dating app?
No.
Okay.
But I guess just meeting in person, classes. Interacting with.
Do you go to parties at all?
Sometimes, yeah.
Are you guys are friends,
Yeah,
housemates?
we're roommates.
Are you guys in a sorority?
No.
No, okay. So how often will you go out and party, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday type thing?
Just Fridays, sometimes Saturdays.
Sometimes Saturdays,
Yeah.
okay. And you'll meet guys out when you're partying, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's the most, but they also are not very consistent. Because I feel like those guys, they'll talk to you for the night and that's it.
Right, okay. So the longest was 3 weeks. Have you, trying to think how to frame this question. I'll come back to you in a sec.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm in a similar boat. I've never been in a defined relationship. I've had sort of a situationship that only lasted probably a month and a half. And then I also
6 weeks.
dropped him.
You dropped him, the 6 weeks. So you're both sophomores at UCSB, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you had a boyfriend ever, or no boyfriends?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's hard here at UCSB? Like, do you feel like guys don't really want that? College boys, they don't want
Definitely.
it? They just want to hook up, right?
Definitely.
Okay. But what about you? Would you be desirous of having a long-term relationship?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's just hard to find someone who...
Yeah. If you found a guy who was like really interested in that, in commitment, would you would be down too, or you're kind of on the fence even then?
I think it really depends on who they are as a person, and because like the situationship that I was in, he wanted to date long term.
Oh, so you didn't want?
I didn't want to.
Why is that?
I think it was just, I could tell that we were different people and we had different sort of lifestyles and personalities, and it was fun to hang out, but it wasn't something I wanted to like commit to long term.
How were you different?
Well, I feel like he was a lot more formal and proper, and he liked to kind of dress up and go on the fancier dates, and he couldn't really see himself just like hiking or I don't know, just hanging out. Even the thought of wearing sweatpants in public to him was like, whoa.
This guy sounds like a catch. What's going on?
And,
He dresses nice.
Like textbook, he sounds like a really cool.
No, you don't.
He was
You don't.
awful.
You didn't like him. Why is that? Why do you say he was awful?
He was just very possessive and very, yes, he had traditional views, but it was very like, no, you are mine. Like,
How
it was just,
when you
That's
say
he was like,
true.
gross.
He didn't like that I liked to party.
Okay, so when you say possessive, is that what you mean? He wanted to spend, like when you wanted to go out on a Friday, he would rather you stay in with him.
Yeah, he was always like, oh, I'm not going to stop you from going out, but I would prefer if you didn't.
Okay.
So
That you're making him sound so much nicer than he actually
Okay, well,
was.
here, why don't you tell us
Okay.
the extent of it? Go ahead.
Okay, I feel like he wasn't, okay, how do I word this? Just a lot of the comments that he made were very misogynistic and very, like, not okay. I think the time.
Give me some
Okay,
examples.
I don't
Give me
know.
some examples
Am I
here.
allowed to?
Yeah, you're allowed. You're
just
allowed.
like, oh, I don't want anybody else to see your body. Like, just
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
just that. But it's,
Anything
I
else?
understand that. Like, obviously, if you're in a relationship, I get that. But just the way that it was said, I feel like is.
yeah.
How did he
I
say
agree.
it?
Even when he would describe, I think that's another thing.
This guy watches the podcast.
He would describe people who I would put myself in the same category as, like girls who party or wear like revealing clothes kind of to party, or even just like crop tops. And he would word it in a way that's like, oh, well, I don't like when people dress like a slut. But it's like, I've worn more revealing things than that girl, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
he didn't want you going out partying. He wanted you to dress modestly.
yeah.
And you mentioned he was being misogynistic. Were there any other things that you considered misogynistic?
I'm trying to think.
I can't think of any specific examples.
Just so I make sure we're talking about the same thing,
Yeah.
just how do you define misogyny?
Well, he for sure thinks that men are better than women.
But when you say he for sure thinks that,
Yes.
did he say that?
Not directly.
So indirectly, how did he communicate that?
Just in like I think especially when talking to her, she was like,
Yeah.
it's more like he didn't want her to have a career. He didn't want her to.
No,
Like,
he definitely, even talking about the future, he was very fast with like talking about the future and, oh, would you want children? Would you whatever? And even talking about working, he was like, well, would you want to still work if you had children? Because I personally would want you to stay at home. And
Okay.
This guy's my hero. Like, I mean, everything that he's saying sounds awesome. I don't actually understand what the problem is. Like, he sounds great.
yeah, I think.
I think when you put it down, when you write it down and you say it out loud, it sounds, yes, traditional, but I do think it is the way that people say it and the intentions behind it.
Okay.
But,
And so, wait, so you said that he thinks, although he didn't say the words, you said that he thinks that men are better than women.
Oh, for sure.
But how
I
do
think
you know
it was
that?
also a lot of like the way we would
whoops.
communicate. It was very much him telling us or telling me like what we're gonna do, or like, oh, when am I gonna see you, or I'll pick you up. And it was never like, oh, like what time do you want to meet? It was just, I'm picking you up at 7.
Okay.
And
I'm still waiting to hear a single bad quality here for this guy. I'm like I want to be on your side. I want to be with you on this and dislike this guy right alongside you, but he just sounds fucking awesome. Like in every conceivable, I haven't heard anything bad about him yet.
Wait, so you said he would want to, like he wouldn't ask you, oh, does 6 p.m. work? He would say, I'm picking you up at 7.
But
I see that. That was a trend like a couple months ago, maybe a year ago, of like women in their thing saying they want a guy to tell them, we're going here, I'm picking you up at this time. But you don't like that. You want the guy to consult with you.
I appreciate him like making the plans, but also I feel like he didn't consider if I wanted to be picked up at 7. So that type of way where it's like, or even if I would say, oh, I'm not sure because I have an essay to write that night. I'm not sure if I have time to meet you, it would kind of, he would just for me be like, okay, well, what time does your class end? Like, oh no, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, he didn't consider what I wanted to do. And yeah.
Okay, so really quick though, going back to what you said, I know you said he's a misogynist. Just, I don't know if you provide an answer on this. Just how do you define misogyny, just so I know we're talking about the same thing?
I think it's just in my...
I think that was a question for her.
Okay. Okay, now I'm being put on the spot. Well, I feel like if there's a power balance that you believe is correct between men and women, I think that's the biggest.
Wait, can you clarify what you mean there? A power balance or imbalance?
Power imbalance.
If you believe that there
that is correct. If
believe
you're
that,
okay with that, and if you're
okay. So you don't believe in any sort of gender expectations at all when it comes to dating?
I think that there are some expectations, but
you reject them? Or do you... No, go ahead. Actually, go ahead.
No, there are definitely expectations. I mean, but I don't think it's gender specific. Just to be respectful as a person.
Yeah, sure. Did we get a definition though on the misogyny thing? Because people have different definitions for that, so I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing.
Well,
I feel like it's hard to define.
It's hard to specifically
explicitly
define, because I feel like there are a lot of examples. So just because I feel like you don't have to be a misogynist by just like, oh, I hate women. Like, it's not that. There are also a lot of small...
Like a microaggression?
Oh, I wouldn't call it microaggression, but slightly, yeah.
So what are
I don't really understand, though. How are you guys calling people misogynists but can't tell us what that is?
Do you mind if I add?
Do.
I feel like when I would call someone a misogynist, it's when I feel that they value women less than men, and it's more like what you say matters less because you're a woman.
Wait, why is it the trigger's off? I'll just read it. Chick with a perfect boyfriend. Sounds like you broke up with the wrong person. Spiteful, jealous, feminazi friend. Whoa, okay, be nice, Nickelodeon. Yeah, I know. I'm just going to read it. Sitting next to you is who you need to... Okay, all right. I'll know. The Streamlabs triggers are all fucked up. I'm going to fix that here in just a sec, boys. Continue on with your statement. Go ahead.
What was I saying?
I see.
You were saying that when you define misogyny, you just mean it that it's when men think that they're better than women, essentially.
Yeah, and I think when they feel that they can disrespect women, and
so then, would you say that a misandrist would be the same thing, just the opposite? Women who feel like they're better than men, they would be misandrist. They would be misogynist in reverse.
I think if they're using it as because they are a man, then yes.
Okay.
All right. It's interesting though, the longest relationship you've had, you dated them for 6 weeks, you dated misogynist. By your definition anyways.
Yeah.
How early on did you determine that he was did you assess that he was a so-called misogynist?
I think in the beginning it was little like comments he would make, and then he would correct himself afterwards, like, oh, I'm not a misogynist, but da-na-na. And it was like,
wait, what would he say?
Okay.
What would he say?
I don't remember what he said.
I'm not a racist, but if somebody ever says I'm not a racist, but they're about to say some racist shit.
I forgot what he said, because his roommate even pointed it out too.
His roommate pointed it out.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, I think it was about making his bed.
He wanted you to make his bed?
No, I was like pulling the covers of it, and I fixed it after he fixed it, and he was like, of course you'd be better than me, you're a woman. And I was like, okay. And his roommate was like, that's misogynistic of you.
Is this like in the dorm room or something?
No, his bedroom.
Oh, is it like a double or something?
Yeah.
College. Okay. Damn. All right. Good times.
And at first I thought he was just being like silly, and then I realized that he actually wholeheartedly believed that.
We got to get this guy on the show. He sounds like a legend. He probably watches the show. All right. Wait, I wanted to come back.
I just didn't hear really anything bad this guy did, honestly. Like I was even thinking, because you were saying that when he would assert, you know, I'm going to pick you up at 7, right? And he wouldn't really take into consideration the fact that, well, maybe your schedule conflicted or something like this, right? It's kind of a jerk thing to do, but here's the thing. Have you ever been in a situation where a guy has asked you where you want to go for dinner, and you do the, I don't know. You know, just kind of anything, that kind of thing. Have you ever been in that situation? Come on, tell me the truth. Can you decide what to have for dinner?
I feel like my go-to is I give them a few options. Like, oh, I feel I'm in the mood for this or this. Like, what would you prefer? Rather than, oh, I don't know, choose something for me.
Yeah, so, I mean, but you've never been in the situation where the guy has said, hey, where do you want to go eat? And you do the whole, like, oh, you pick?
Honestly, no.
Never?
Yeah. I mean, probably, but it's never been an annoying, because I even do that with my friends. When it's like, oh, where do you want to go? Sometimes there's that little bit of, I don't know. But we figured it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you can imagine
Big
that.
Labia Outie Disrespecter donated $200.
What?
Brian, you a weirdo for liking women with Arby's roast beef. Roasty simp. Fake Virgin Brie, you are the reason why there are instructions on shampoo bottles. Ladies, deal breaker if the guy won't go down.
We'll get right back to the... actually, I'll save that question for later. Andrew, sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just saying, you can imagine, though, that, and I'm sure you've seen this yourself with your friends, that the question as simple as where would you like to go have dinner? Women are often very indecisive about that. Yeah, I don't know. Well, you pick, that kind of thing. I mean, surely you're familiar with this phenomenon, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so, I mean, isn't one good way to avoid that phenomenon to just say, hey, be ready at 8, and I'm just going to pick you up, and we're going to go to X restaurant? Isn't that preferable to a lot of women, don't you think?
I don't think there's a problem with that, like the decisiveness. Like, I don't mind that, but I think what got me was the fact that he didn't even want to check if that was okay with me.
Well, had you guys had a plan to meet up that day?
No.
So he just randomly texted you,
Well,
no plan?
We hadn't planned, but it was like, oh, what are you doing on Sunday? Or are you free Sunday? And it was like, okay, I don't think there was a problem with that, but just in general, when we would make plans, it felt very much, you told me that your class is done at 4, so I can pick you up at 4:30. It doesn't matter if you need time, you know. It was very, I don't know. I just didn't like how he approached it and his tone and everything. It was very much him telling me what to do, and not
a little bit of tone policing going on, you think?
Yeah.
I think it was more that he felt entitled to your time just because you didn't have a solid commitment, that he felt like he was like...
Grid 1 Motorsports donated $200. Dude dodged a bullet. Sounds like a legendary Chad that deserves a top shelf lady, not a dog. What a bitch like you.
Hey.
The men you want will not want you, as you do not
Grid
value
1.
them.
Be polite, Grid 1. Grid 1, be polite. Optics. Andrew, you were saying?
Yeah, well, I was just trying to get to the bottom of it. So would you say tone played a big part in this? Just you didn't like it wasn't what he was doing really that was so problematic, but rather the kind of tone in which he was doing it. Like he was saying, no, we're going to go do this and we're going to do that tonight at X time. Him doing that wasn't really the problem. You just didn't like how you
Nashunabo
perceived.
donated $200. This guy seemed reasonable. Roommate hates on him far more than you and speaks horribly on his name, and you seem hesitant to agree with her. Sounds more like a case of single women keeping women single.
Nacho. There you go.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was just asking. It does seem like when we kind of dive into what the actual problems were, that it was the way that you perceived the thing and kind of the tone in which it was done. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel that.
We'll come back. We can come back to that a little bit later. I'll just get through everybody really quick. Any updates, Yael, on your sitch? Still the same?
Yeah.
Still the same?
Yeah.
Madison?
I'm in a relationship. It's been a little over a year and 8 months.
Okay, cool. Moving things along, let me just check a couple things here that we had to come back to. Oh, really quick, for you and you, do you guys have a roster right now?
No.
No roster? No guys on the bench?
No.
Okay. No, zero because you said you're single, so I was just seeing like,
Yeah.
but you said you haven't had like any boyfriend relationships.
No, none that I would consider.
Like there's no guys you're currently like kind of in a talking stage with or anything. Okay. All right, moving things